The Toronto Blue Jays season is in the gutter, but one of the bright spots lately has been Leo Jimenez. And even though he tweaked his knee, he left the game yesterday against the Chicago Cubs, his power is really starting to shine. And just his overall plate approach. We know that his defense is good, and that's been his main calling card ever since coming up from Buffalo. But his offense is really starting to take a turn, and you could see him getting more and more comfortable with each at bat that he has. So we'll break down his performance and much more in this episode of Jay's Digest. What's up, everybody? Welcome into Jay's Digest. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And Leo Jimenez has been an interesting name to follow over the past couple of weeks, over the past month, I should say. Now, when he first came up, he was ranked pretty highly. He was the number six prospect for the Toronto Blue Jays. And we heard all the scouting reports about him, right? We heard that he's got good bat to ball skills, he's got a good plate approach, very disciplined, and his defense is his main calling card. That's what will get him to the big leagues. He's arguably the best defender at shortstop that the Blue Jays have in their entire organization, and that's Bo Bichette, Ernie Clement included. So we know that he's a good defender, and he's shown that in his brief time with the Blue Jays this season. And with each game that's passing by, Nick, I see him getting more comfortable with the bat and not just singles, not just putting the ball in play. He's hitting doubles, he's hitting home runs. He's got two home runs in his last two series. And you could just see him with more playing time. He doesn't have to look over his shoulder. He's in the lineup every day, and he's shown the Blue Jays why he should be a candidate to be on the team next year ahead of maybe some other utility guys.
Yeah, and Bo Bichette's injury opened up this spot because without his injury, he maybe would have gotten called up and not gotten nearly as much playing time. And again, you mentioned it. If you're still watching the Jays games like we are, every single game he plays, he's looking more comfortable on the plate. We obviously know he's a very, very good defender. We've seen it every single day he's played. But even you can see that represented by his WAR. A lot of that is from defense. He obviously has only put up a 90 OPS plus, but his defense has helped carried him a little bit. But there was a time where his OPS was in the mid 500s, and obviously the couple of home runs helped that greatly. But
Yeah.
he's a guy that, and we'll have videos on this obviously in the offseason coming up as well. Like Bo Bichette's future in Toronto is not super clear right now. And could Leo Jimenez be kind of trying out for a spot next season on the Toronto Blue Jays, especially as he starts to heat up? That is the biggest question. We saw earlier on this season in AAA Buffalo, he put up an 847 OPS. The hitting is starting to come around. The power is the biggest thing that has been a question mark for Leo Jimenez. He only put up 7 home runs in 57 games, which isn't completely terrible, but obviously he's never hit for power his entire career. You look back at his MLB pipeline grades, and he has a 30 power. Now, this is from 2023 because he's now a graduated prospect. These were upped a little bit before he did graduate, but his power is still very, very low and not exactly what you want. But he's only 23 years old, and if he made some adjustments at the major league level that helped kind of contribute to some of this power. Obviously, he got hurt yesterday, but I think he's going to be fine. Maybe he's playing today or tomorrow, hopefully. But I don't know. He could be. He could fit himself into the Jays, whether it's on a bench role or maybe even as their starting shortstop next season, depending what they do with Bo Bichette. And
Yeah.
if they do trade him, what package they get back.
Well, I'll tell you what, he looks a lot more motivated than Bo Bichette does at the shortstop position, and he's hungry. He wants to play. And I threw out this comparison to you off camera, Nick. Santiago Espinal. And I know that's not going to excite too many Blue Jay fans, but let's take a look at Espinal's 2021 season numbers, okay? So in 92 games, he only hit two home runs, but he hit 311 and had an OPS near 781. Like, and he was playing fantastic defense at third base
Yep.
as well. So the Blue Jays had a loaded lineup. They didn't need Espinal to be a guy who slugs 20 to 30 home runs for them because they already had four or five of those guys in the lineup already. So Espinal played his role. He showed that he can contribute at the bottom of a lineup and play really good defense for you. And I think that's what Leo Jimenez can do. I believe that he can be a high a 280 hitter. I think he can do that and maybe chip in a little bit of power. We're seeing the power creep in a little bit to his game here, and the defense is solid wherever you put him, right? So I think if the Blue Jays make some serious additions in hitting in the hitting category. Like let's say they add some offense. I'm not talking Juan Soto or anything, but I'm saying let's say they add a guy who hit 30 home runs last year and someone who can contribute offensively more consistently than some of the other guys on the team, then I think that ups Leo Jimenez's value and that makes other players more expendable on the roster. He's a good player. I really like him. I like his intensity. He looks very calm as well. Like he doesn't look overwhelmed by the major league caliber. He looks like he belongs, and I want to see him get an opportunity next year. And in order to do that, I think the Blue Jays need to make some additions. But I can see him being an Espinal type of player for a long time for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and the good part of Espinal, hopefully, if
Yeah,
he
yeah,
wants to have
exactly.
a long career. But again, he has the upside. You mentioned the 280 hitter in the MLB. I mean, he did that in AAA. He's made some adjustments. Obviously, his major league career started off a little bit rough with the Jays, but he's turned it around pretty well here over the past few weeks. And 2 home runs, that's something he hasn't flashed too much at the minor league level. And you compare it to Bo Bichette. Now, obviously, we're kind of having this conversation. Again, Bo Bichette's future is, I'm not going to say in jeopardy, but it's up in the air for the Toronto Blue Jays. He obviously had a rough season this year, which is why Leo Jimenez is even getting a shot. But the big question mark is what they're going to do with Bo Bichette. Now, obviously, assuming they keep Bo Bichette because they want to compete next season, that makes Leo Jimenez a bit maybe more as a bench piece, depending on what they do. If Bo Bichette doesn't want to play short, or if he wants a day at DH or wants an off day, Leo Jimenez can slide in there, similar to what Espinal did towards his tail end of his Blue Jays career. But the Bo Bichette, that's the biggest question mark right now, is Bo Bichette, because obviously he is the shortstop for next year under contract. But I think they'll probably keep Bo next year, depending. There is some reports coming out, which we'll cover later. But I don't know. I think Leo Jimenez could be one of their options at shortstop, especially if he develops. And if he's able to develop while keeping his elite defense, he could be a guy we're talking about a year or two from now as a very critical piece. I don't think he's ever going to be a 4 hitter, even a 2 hitter, a 3 hitter. I think he's down going to be
No, no,
between
no.
6 to 9 at his best. Maybe he can get a 6 if he's high average, or maybe he could even be a leadoff type hitter if he can really figure it out. But I think realistically his ceiling here is going to be an everyday major leaguer with decent average and maybe 14 to 15 home runs if he can meet his peak here.
I think that's a little generous from you. I think the best
Ceiling.
man, still I don't know. Maybe he has a bit more untapped power, but he's never even come close to
Yeah,
those
true.
numbers in his minor league. So and you could even see his prospect grades there, Nick.
30 power.
30 power. Like he's not a guy that's going to tear the cover off the ball, but he's got a good hit grade, a good arm and good fielding, and that's good enough for me. I think he can be a very solid contributor. Now, obviously, the best case scenario is for Bo Bichette to come in next year and be the Bo that he has been for the better part of 4+ years, right? It's for him to come in and be a close to 300 hitter, if not even more than that, and show the Blue Jays that he wants to be here because at no point this season did he look like he was motivated and looked like the Bo that was an all-star a couple times in his career. So I want to see him figure that out. I want to see him be the player that he can be. And I think that's the most ideal scenario for the Blue Jays. It's not having Jimenez start at shortstop every day, but in terms of him and Ernie Clement, I think I'd rather have Leo Jimenez because he's a better defender and Clement's been really good with the bat lately, but I think I like Jimenez's ceiling more than Clement, who's a bit older.
Yeah, I think 6 years older. So there's a lot of questions going to be coming up for the Blue Jays, and hopefully they can take care of business. And hopefully Leo Jimenez figures out his health a little bit here, and hopefully this injury, it seems like it's not going to be a big deal. So hopefully we can keep watching him hit the ball well, because yeah, you mentioned it. He probably doesn't have too much power, but maybe he'll prove everybody wrong and continue to hit for some home runs. So that'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully the Jays can win today.